Hello and welcome back to another tutorial on the Craft O'Clock channel. My name is Aditi and I will be creating a mixed media project today using the Warm and Peaceful collection. So today I will be creating an explosion box and I am going to be using the 8-inch paper pack, the 6-inch paper pack, as well as the elements that come with the collection. Before creating, here's a look at the patterns. Along with that, I will also be using these extras to cut warm and peaceful Christmas elements as well as the flower elements that come with the collection. Now let's begin constructing our explosion box. I have the VR Memory Keeper's explosion board here, and so that makes it very easy for me to construct my box. However, in the description box below, I will write down all the measurements for you all. Just in case you don't have this particular tool, you can still use your paper trimmer and scoreboard and create a box for yourself using the same measurements. Now for my base, I want to use white cardstock. So I will construct the box first with white cardstock and then I'll mat layers using the Craft O'Clock collection. So I want to create two boxes, the small and the large. So the small one asks us to begin with 8 into 8-inch paper, and the large requires us to begin with a 10 into 10-inch paper. So I have my two pieces of white cardstock here for the large box and the small box, and I will place the paper on the board, nicely aligning the paper edges to the marking there. And since this is 10 inch, it is for the large box, I will score at this mark which says large all the way across the paper. Next, there is also a diagonal score line. There is a marking for that as well. And I will score along that just until my score line that I already created with the large here. So that will give us our corners in case we want to fold those over. And then rotate the paper by 90 degrees and repeat the same process on all the sides. We'll repeat the same process with our 8-inch paper for the smaller box. And for that, I just need to score at S. Now, for this particular box, will not score diagonally because I would want to cut those off. And now to make the lids, I want both the lids for the small as well as the large, and here are the measurements. So for the small we need to use the 5¼ inch into 5¼ inch paper, and for the large we need 5/7/8 inch square. And the lid, here is the marking, so we will score at that first marking for the pieces labeled lid. So I'm just going to score both the lids for the small and the large box. Even for the lids, we will score at that diagonal point because it will help us tuck the lid and create that box shape. And now let's fold over all the score lines and burnish nicely so that we can start constructing the box. For the small box, we will cut off the four corners because we don't need those. And on the large box, the board comes with these hearts just to create a nice design on the corners. So all we need to do is pick out the large size, align the two sides of the heart with the score lines, and trace that shape. And I'll just cut the corners of both the boxes and be back. That's a look at the two pieces with the corners cut out. And now we need to begin matting. Now to mat the large box, we need 3 by 3 inch squares for the four sides as well as for the corners, and I'll tell you in a minute how we cut along the heart shape for the corners. And so I have used the 8-inch and the 6-inch papers and cut out these pieces to mat my base. And for the corners, what we need is 1 3-inch piece, like 4 3-inch pieces. But using the medium corner heart shape, we can trace that out and cut along. So what that does is it gives us a smaller heart, which will look good when matted on the box, on the base. Now for our smaller box, we need pieces that measure 2 3/8 of an inch. So I have all of those pieces as well cut out here. And I'm going to quickly show you how to create a fun pocket for two of the sides. So what I've done is from the 8-inch paper pack, I have just cut down 2 3/8 of an inch, and I have this long strip. Let me set that aside and pull out my paper trimmer. I am going to score this piece at 2 3/8, fold it over, score again at 2 3/8, fold it over again and score at 2 3/8. And then this smaller portion here, we don't need that, so we'll trim that down. And that leaves us with 3 parts. And now we just need to diagonally cut off these two ends. Just on one of the ends, we will chop it off slightly. And that's the end that will fold over inside, and then the other on top of that. And we can stick that, and that gives us a nice little pocket which we can use to mat two sides, and that can just hold small tags and tickets that come along with the collection. I have also cut pieces for the lid, just to mat the lid. So we have a 3/4 inch square for the center, and then 3/4 inch by 7/8 inch for all the sides, both inside and outside. And for the smaller lid, we have 2 5/8 inch squares for the middle, inside and outside, and 2 5/8 into 7 5/8 inch strips for the sides, both inside and outside. So I am going to be using double-sided tape and mat all of these pieces. But before I begin matting, I will use distress ink and distress the edges of all these pieces. Now for the lid, I have matted the pieces outside, but on the inside, I have just matted two sides and left these two blank. And I'm going to show you why. Now we can definitely assemble it in a way that the diagonals that we had created earlier fold over inside. But I find that it is getting too bulky. This here is getting too bulky. So I want to do it in a different way. And for that, what we're going to do is just on these two sides that I've not matted, I will cut along the straight edge here close to the score line. And on this piece, I will just go at an angle, meeting the cut that I already had earlier. And so what this does is it just cuts a triangle right here at the joint, and I'll do the same thing on this side. And by doing that now, we can just glue the flaps and it's not going to be bulky. And once I've glued it, I will then mat that side on there. So that will how the lid looks like. This is the lid for the smaller box, and that's how it will look like once it's matted. And now to just assemble. So I am going to stick the smaller piece on the base of the larger box. So that's what the box will look like once it's all closed. And then when we open it, and that. So now all we need to do is decorate this box, and I will cut out the extras from the Christmas elements and the flowers and be back to complete this. I'm back with all the fussy cut elements ready to assemble. Now, while I was opening and closing the box, I realized that the corners began kind of tearing, and it was a mistake that I made because what I had done was I matted the entire heart. Ideally, what I should have done is cut the heart and matted one piece on this side and one piece on this side, leaving the middle score line free. But since I didn't do that, it just became so thick that every time I was trying to close it, it was causing this sort of tear, and that looked messy. But since it's just an explosion box, I trimmed off these heart corners, and I have another project idea with these hearts. And so, free of that, this is what my explosion box will look like when I close and open it. And now, all I'm going to do is just glue all these elements down, create compositions wherever I feel like it's necessary on both the inside and the outside.
And that's a look at the completed box. Touches of glitter just make it all pop. And like you know me, I love to add some sentiments from the chipboard quotes. So I've used the Christmas set and added things that make it more meaningful. So here's a closer look at the lid of the inner box. That's the Christmas scene right in the middle with nice, delicate touches and elements that just make it more meaningful. There's space for tiny little photos or just messages around all of these elements, and that's why it makes for a really good Christmas gift. And that's a look at the outer lid filled with layers and texture and depth. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today, and I look forward to inspiring you soon again with more projects. Until then, take care and bye bye.